Hi, my name is Charlene, and I'm creating this video today to talk to anybody who might have been in my same shoes regarding getting help that you need for a cardiac arrhythmia. Now, typically you go to the doctor, you get an EKG, which is a split second of time. If you have an intermittent, irregular heartbeat, chances are really high that's not going to catch it. So what do they do then? They give you a Holter monitor or some type of event monitor, which I always thought were pretty darn accurate. They're kind of the gold standard for getting these things documented and diagnosed to get you the help that you need. And I really, like I said, I really thought they were very accurate into this last one that I had done. I'm not sure if it was my particular arrhythmia or what was causing it, but I was having issues. I would hit the button. I was thinking the whole time that the auto trigger was picking up these issues. It did not. Even when I hit the button, it was not flagging what was going on with my rhythm as actually being in error. Whatever the parameters were set up within the device, it didn't look enough like a problem for it to actually pick up and flag. So as a result, my report yielded an inaccurate ectopic beat count, an inaccurate burden, because it didn't pick up. And you can actually look at the strips on the report, which I'll show you, that show that yes, these ectopic beats were happening. However, they weren't. This device was not counting, the programming was not counting these ectopic beats. Thankfully, though, I did use my Kardia during the same time period that I was using the monitor, and so I have Kardia data that shows yes, this is an arrhythmia, so which I can pit right up against the non-existent data from the Holtermonitor, because again, it didn't auto trigger, and even when I actually had a patient trigger, it dismissed those as being normal as well, and they're not. I'll show you both my Kardia readouts and the corresponding Holter monitors, and you can see that the Holter monitor was not accurate. So was there a problem? Yes, absolutely, and I've since had an ablation for this problem. But had I relied just on the Holter monitor, they wouldn't have had the data. The Kardia is really what clinched it for me to take that into my doctor and say, no, this is what happened. And then she could see it, and that was the rhythm she looked for to ablate. So for any of you having these issues as well, I would consider getting a Kardia. I use the 6th lead as a backup device, just in case, for whatever reason, what your heart monitor, whether it be an event or a Holter monitor, doesn't pick up what it is that you're experiencing, and you need to be listened to, and you need to have the data. And again, these devices go through insurance companies. They're very expensive. The monitoring is expensive, and I was expecting that to be a lot more accurate than it was, accurate and reliable. When I brought this up to the company themselves, they said they wouldn't talk to me. They could only talk to my EP, because I explained to them what was going on. They weren't interested in hearing it. But at the end of the day, I was able to get the help that I needed for the arrhythmia, mainly because of the Kardia, I would say.
Okay, what you see here is an EKG that I got from an urgent care that I went to back in 2022. You can see small peak, big peak, compensatory pause, and then 2 other beats close together. That's been what I've been struggling with, and it is an atrial bigeminal pattern. The next slide you'll see is a closer view of that first lead showing that pattern, and the second lead as well. Okay, this is the cover page of the activity log I had to send in with the 1-week Holter monitor. Again, it had an activation button that I could activate as well. It was supposed to pick up anything outside of certain parameters that would trigger an event. And the dates and times don't necessarily match up between, I guess, actually a lot of it didn't match up, so I'm not sure if it's Eastern Standard Time, why there was so much discrepancy. But my times and dates really don't match up at all with what they're saying was patient triggers. Next slide. We have the overall summary sheet. You see number of patient triggers here, and there's nothing going along with them. Those I know were things going on. There are some automatic triggers that it picked up on its own, so those did meet parameters. But the problem I was having fell outside whatever parameters this was set up to recognize. This next page shows the recordings and whether it was ventricular, atrial, or atrial based on a ventricular beat. And I highlighted and counted all the beats, the ectopics, over there on the far right to add up to the 29 that it says that I had 29 total ectopic beats over the course of a week, which I have established is absolutely untrue. So this is a patient trigger. You can see up top there. This doesn't even show up on my report. It doesn't show up as anything being wrong. Symptoms none reported. That was another thing. The symptoms I did report. Yeah, I have copies, obviously, of the log, and those aren't actually coded in here as well. So this is my problem. It's the bigeminal pattern, and it did not count these as part of the ectopic load. Not sure why, but it didn't. This is the clearest example. I triggered it, it shows it, and it doesn't look at it as being a problem. You can clearly see there's numbers of these pairs of off beats there. This is another page, and I recognize the 11 beats there. So if you were to go through and look at all these and count them up with that first page with the totals, I was checked off and was able to locate all the beats that would add up to the 29, and those excluded, like that one page I just showed you. Next page, we've got possibly 4 that it's recognizing, and it did recognize skip beats. Again, this wasn't sure because the dates and the times just do not line up. Here we have another, just a little blip here of 2 beats close together and a compensatory pause. And then down below, you do have an SVT. It recognized that, but not sure why it doesn't recognize the other ones. Here we've got, again, nothing looks like anything to the computer system or the person who's looking at it. But you can see there are a number of places where it's 2 beats close together, and then a pause and 2 beats close together. On this page, same thing, doesn't look like anything. It's not counted as anything, but you can see there's 2 beats and a pause in various places along the strip, 2 beats and a pause. Here we have another instance, patient trigger. There's only the one example there, the 2 beats close together. But, you know, these are all things that I could feel. Actually, if you look at the far left, there is another one there with 2 beats close together and a pause. Okay, here we have possibly 6. This is a ventricular ectopic. So that was the only recording from 9/24, so I had to assume it was the ones they were talking about. Not entirely sure because, again, dates and times do not match up. However, when we get to my Kardia, this is September 19th. This information shows 8 PACs at 7:27 p.m. And if you go through and count that, that's what you totaled up at. Okay, so there's the 8 PACs. That was on one particular 30-second run. Kardias record for 30 seconds, so there's 8 in 30 seconds. Here's another 3, September 19th, same time period. Another 30 seconds, and you've got 3. Again, the monitor didn't pick those up at all as an auto trigger. And on this one, September 21st, there was nothing recorded on September 21st. And this particular arrhythmia went on for about 45 minutes on and off. Again, the monitor did not auto detect, did not pick up, and it has no recordings from September 21st. But there's about 20 PACs in 30 seconds. So right there, with a minute and a half worth of data, I've already gone over and above what they said my total burden of being 29 beats at less than 1%. So clearly inaccurate. I've got a minute and a half data that shows exceeding the amount that they had for a week. So again, the Kardia showed it. The other monitor did not pick it up. And you can count this. These are very uncomfortable for me, by the way. It makes me very symptomatic. But this is all, it's every other beat for a minute. And this again was going on and off for 45 minutes that particular evening. So here's your overall burden. It's saying 29 supraventricular beats with less than 1%. We already know there was more than that in a minute and a half. So that math does not work. Hope this helps some of you out.
Okay, well, I hope if anything that gives you a sense that you're not alone in these struggles, and that, not everything is as crystal clear as you might like to believe it is, and these tests are fallible. So sometimes you just got to back up with your own abilities, and that's what I ended up doing, and was thankfully able to get some help. So you're not alone. These things are tricky. They're hard to figure out. It's hard to find, and sometimes it's hard to get the doctors to listen to you. So keep being your own advocate and keep moving forward. That's what we all have to do. Good luck and God bless.